So, yeah, this is all the Rhythm Heaven games, right? I don't think so. There's one more. This is Rhythm Tengoku, the true beginning of the franchise, released in 2006 and doomed to never leave Japan. Sorta. The game started life in 2002 as a little drum set tech demo for the Game Boy Advance, where players could hit different buttons on the system to hit different parts of the kit. It was made by developer Kazuyoshi Osawa, with the working title of Rhythm IQ, but it wouldn't really go anywhere until 2 years later, when Sunku, a Japanese songwriter, vocalist, talent manager, record producer, musician, actor, television presenter, Kanako Iti- oh, that's his wife. When prolific music superstar godman Sunku approached Nintendo about making a rhythm game that relied primarily on audio cues rather than visuals. So he wasn't a fan of DDR-style games that used symbols and the like. The two joined forces with Nintendo Software Planning and Development, who are also responsible for the majority of the WarioWare games, and got to work on what would become Rhythm Tengoku. Sunku's goal for the project was apparently to improve people's sense of rhythm, even going so far as to have the developers take dance lessons during development. This is actually chronicled in this here video on the website, which doesn't work because of Flash player not existing or just it being outdated. These two buttons on the bottom don't do anything. Cool, alright. That would have been fun to watch, but the game was eventually released in 2006, but it just would have been nice to watch. It just would have. There they are, stomping, the arms swinging and jump ahead. Look at them go. So this kind of confirms that the music is completed before the minigames, which is something I've always wondered. There's Sunku saying something. I don't speak Japanese, so I cannot understand him. Like every other game in the series, Tengoku starts with a rhythm test. I can't read this. Rhythm Heaven Silver, a fan translation made by these cool folks that is technically unfinished, but functionality-wise, it's pretty much complete. Real Rhythm Heaven heads know that a good chunk of this game was eventually recycled into the excellent Rhythm Heaven Megamix on the 3DS, which was released worldwide. A few of the rhythm games were also ported to Rhythm Heaven Fever on the Wii as bonus games. So I'm mainly going to be focused on things that are exclusive to Tengoku, things that haven't appeared since. Like drumming. There's a whole ass drum kit simulation in this game that not only has never reappeared in the series, but even in this game is entirely optional. This is of course a more polished version of Osawa's drum tech demo from 2002. And while it is optional, it's also extensive. This is not just a throwaway thing. As you get medals from Superbing games, you unlock drum lessons, taught by Funny Blue Man. And see, I thought I had pretty good, decent sense of rhythm, but I barely made it through the first lesson. Look, I'm just hitting this cymbal over and over again. That's not what he asked for! And this is about an hour's worth of lessons in total, assuming you're getting every drum pattern on your first try like NST Gaming is here. Aside from the lessons, you're also able to freely drum along to any song in the game's sound test, which is pretty cool. And after you complete the game, you unlock Band Mode, which allows you to play along with 3 different bands, and you can just ruin their concerts. Despite me being bad at it, I do think the drum set was a pretty cool addition to this game. I think it would have been cool to have each game in the series have its own instrument. You get a guitar for the DS version, some kind of woodwind for the Wii, a 3-dimensional guitar for the 3DS version. Aside from the drumming, there's also the standard array of side content that's featured in the rest of the franchise, like the cafe, the endless games and rhythm toys, and the letters from perfecting certain games. Rhythm toys are cool. This cat thing is a bunch of little song fragments that you can chain together to make big songs. Pretty neat. This horse is a little game where you have to tap along to the beat to get the horse to trot forward. This love tester game, my best guess is that you're supposed to make sentences with these buttons on the left, and then you press this button here to see if she loves you or not. But even so, all her dialogue is in Japanese, so And finally, this rap sampler thing lets you play around with the voice clips from the Rap Brothers game. Now for the endless games. Mr. Upbeat here would eventually reappear in Fever, and 2 of them are just endless versions of rhythm games that already appeared in the game. But the 4th one is totally exclusive to Tengoku, and it's pretty great. It tasks you with making mannequin heads in a little factory. Gotta make sure all the mannequins have eyes, but see, sometimes the heads are turned the wrong way, so you gotta slap them in time to the rhythm first to turn them around. Not much to say except I like this one. I think it would've worked well as an actual rhythm game. It could've replaced, the Monodori. Ooh! Monodori has never appeared outside of Tengoku, and it's pretty easy to see why. The theme and concept of the game is based on something that I, as a 78-year-old savant, had to look up, so there's little chance your average American kid would understand what's going on. See, the Monodori is a dance done during the Bon Festival, which is a yearly Buddhist celebration where practitioners honor their ancestors' spirits. You like that? You click on a Billy McChucks video and you're learning something. Something real. It's not made up, like sometimes I tell people that frogs get power from the moon. In the Monodori minigame, all you have to do is clap whenever Pan is sung, and clap twice in a row whenever Panpa is sung. That's pretty dang simple, huh? Well, I'll tell you, it's a lot harder than it looks. This is one of the games that gave me the most trouble. Okay, the words Pan and Panpa are very similar looking words, especially during gameplay. And sometimes they put 2 pans in a row, so it looks like a panpa, but no, it's completely different. See, 2 pans are... and a panpa is... Another thing that threw me off was the fact that the pans are not uniform, meaning some have a dash and some don't, which means that the speed that the blue outline crosses them is different. And then you get to the second version of Monodori, and you gotta do claps at the start of lines, so you're kind of unsure where to come in. And really, they should put a feature in the game where you turn your head and ask the lady next to you, when do I come in? Although, even with all that being said, I do feel a bit uncertain criticizing this minigame because it was clearly designed for people who are fluent in a language that I am not. I'm not even playing it in its original form. I'm playing a translation, and this is the one case where it could significantly impact gameplay, I think. So... I think I'm just gonna go ahead and cut this whole section of the review. I'd say the main difference between these rhythm games and those found in the rest of the series is that they generally expect a lot more of you as a player. Like, it's not this, okay? It's never this. But in general, the performance rankings are more demanding. You'll think you're doing okay, maybe even superb, but no, you're actually doing try again. A lot of games in the last column were only going to let you miss 2 or even 1 time to qualify for an okay. And this extra column is where you're going to find probably the hardest single move to pull off in the whole series, in Built to Scale 2, where your hands have to play 2 different drum patterns at the same time. It's quite tricky. It's challenging in a way that would probably feel out of place in any other game in the franchise. And that's not a bad thing. Built to Scale 2 is fun, and so are most of the other harder games here, like Tram and Pauline, which is a short barrage of timing D-pad and button presses to these 2 guys' jumps, sometimes in tandem, sometimes out of sync. I also like Hopping Road 2, where you have to account for the progress of multiple different melodies at once. It's just interesting to see this level of challenge from a series that basically turned into baby's first rhythm game, and it's probably because the devs weren't really sure what this game would amount to. I mean, nowadays we have buildings dedicated to Rhythm Heaven, but back then, who knew this quirky little rhythm game would become what it is today? Did you know? And yet this game also doesn't really come off as a test run either. It's largely the same as the rest of the franchise. They pretty much got the formula down pat on try 1. There are a few minigames that don't really work, and as such haven't returned, like Ratman. I thought that was kind of flat. Comes way too late in the game to be appropriately challenging, and the sequel's not much better. Nightwalk would eventually be both remade and then brought back in its original form, and I'm not sure why, because it's not that interesting. To be fair, the second version adds these electric whales you gotta avoid, which makes things sort of fun. But the first one is just you going A, just pressing the same button rhythmically for a minute and a half against a black background. Chroma key it out, you can put anything back there. Like, wow, look at that. What? Whoa, Cheese Heist did return, but I don't like it. I mean, it could just be that I'm bad at it, and I am bad at it, but in this first incarnation of it, the cat's paws don't even have audio cues, so you have to rely on the visuals. I love Showtime, and I would actually pay $60 and the cost of a This Guy amiibo for a full-length version of it. You basically hit the ball in time with these penguins coming down the stairs, and it's like crack to me. Wizard Waltz is okay. It's cool to have a game in waltz time for a change. Yeah, I like this one. I like the, I don't know what I like, actually. There's not much to say about this one. Fireworks is basically rhythm rockets with less rockets, but is somehow harder. Maybe being yelled at in Japanese is psychologically making it seem harder than it is? I don't know. In the last Tengoku rhythm game, the Ball Boys 1 and 2, where you have to just bounce the ball between the boys. Sounds like sounds like a typical Saturday night to me, if you know what I'm talking about. I suspect the reason they didn't bring this one back is because there's a lot to remember in terms of timing the 3 very similar looking special moves, which, again, don't actually have audio cues to differentiate them. I very much like the big guy clapping the ball out of existence every time the song ends, though. It's a fun minigame overall. I just wish there was maybe differently colored lines for each of the special moves. And if you're curious to how a rhythm-based game's soundtrack fares on a system with not the best audio capabilities, well, rest assured it turned out pretty well. It works with the system's limitations rather than against them, and it's able to get some pretty kickin' songs out of it. All the remixes are good, but 3 especially is a banger. Props to the devs for getting a full-on vocal track in the game sounding as nice as it does. You know what also sounds nice are those drum samples. They're punchy, but they've got some good reverb to them too. Kinda makes me want to start actually playing the drums in real life. I taped that stock photo of a drum set to my wall months ago, but I haven't touched it since. And if printing out a stock photo of a drum set and not using it is about to be being done with this video, then I guess I've just done the same thing twice. Did you hear what I just said? Do you see the sentence I have written here? And it makes no sense, I used the wrong than. All in all, Rhythm Tengoku perfectly tees up the franchise for the smash hit it would become, and it has enough exclusive content in it to make it stand out even amongst its sequels. That was a pretty, I'm gonna give myself, that was a pretty good sentence, I'd say. Compared to the last one especially. Oh, but what about this? Ah, well, this came about when Sega approached Nintendo about making an arcade version after the GBA version was popular with its staff. So in 2007, we got the Rhythm Heaven arcade cabinet. Well, we didn't, but Japan did, but you can import it if you were an arcade owner. In this version, every game takes away one of your hearts, which you can earn by inserting money or superbing games. There's also this 2-player versus mode a la Fever. Isn't that awesome? I said, isn't that awesome? Oh yeah, I can't hear you. And then in 2009, the DS sequel came out, and the rest is freaking history, dude. I'm glad Nintendo saw the potential in Tengoku and allowed its sequels to, 1, exist, and then 2, to be localized worldwide. And maybe let's get one on the Switch now, or if you're watching in the future and there already is a game on the Switch, or maybe the Switch you're watching in the future and the Switch is done and there was no Rhythm Heaven game. Alright, that's it, that's the end.